pitcher. Hey, put that thing down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports, a daily NFL podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. This is the Week 9 recap of Sunday's action. A thrilling day of professional football. It featured some shocking losses and overtime on Sunday Night Football. Joining me to break it down, Ryan Wilson and John Breech. What's up, boys?
Breech, I feel like it's later than it actually is for some reason.
That's because it's my favorite weekend of the year, daylight savings time. I write a letter to my congressman every year to ask him not to eliminate it.
Why? What? You know you cannot like daylight savings time.
I love waking up at 5 a.m. because my 2-year-old doesn't understand daylight savings time. I love going to bed late. I love all of it. And my eyes are even more purple than usual. Yep. It's all here. You know who else loves daylight savings time? I was going to say the Packers, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, boy.
Thanks to everybody for hanging out in the chat on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. If you're in there, please smash the like button. If you don't know, we go live after every primetime game and usually every day at 1 p.m. By the way, the Breech is just, hello, Billy. Bye, Billy. Breech is finding this out live, but we are going to be maybe 1:15 on Monday for the recap show. Hoping to get a couple guests. Maybe we'll talk Packers and Washington football team, Kirk Cousins revenge game. But first, that's tomorrow. Anyway, smash the like button, turn on alerts, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. By the way, nobody loves daylight savings time, Breech. That's super weird. That's like the weirdest thing about you somehow. It is so arrogant to think that like we can just change time.
Time is a construct, so it doesn't even matter.
Boom, Wilson. That was deep. Write that down, Brinson.
I think it is fair to say that the idea that we constructed time and roll by it and just stick with like whatever was invented like a really long time ago is kind of crazy too. But that's
another podcast. That's your other podcast. That's your side hustle podcast.
Yeah, it's my time. I'm going to
doing with Neil deGrasse Tyson next week, I believe.
Yeah. That's my
Neil deGrasse, Mike Tyson. What's the first game? Let's go.
Well, let's spin the magic globe and see where it takes us. We'll go to Kansas City, where the Chiefs win 20-17. Sunday Night Football overtime. So, I mean, overtime's great. I don't like it when it happens on Sunday nights because we do this podcast late, particularly when it happens on daylight savings time. But this game, man, you feel bad for the Titans. Chiefs win 20-17. Of course, Derrick Henry runs for 115 yards on 17 carries and 2 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes threw, I believe that number is 68 times on Sunday night.
Correct.
Malik Willis threw 16 times for 80 yards.
Hey, Breech, without looking, look up at eyeballs at the camera. How many passes did Malik Willis complete to his wide receivers?
0.
Ding, 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 ding.
Zilcharuno.
0. And they almost won this game. It went to overtime.
Yeah. I mean,
they won this game almost exactly.
Like, I think more than anything to me, this points out to like what a good coach Mike Vrabel is. And he's got this team in this game against Kansas. No, 0 passes completed to wide receivers. Malik Willis had some nice balls that should have been caught by his wide receivers. AJ Brown tweeting through the entire game. Kansas City, I really felt like Tennessee dominated the game. Their defense played outstanding. They were physical against KC's offense. They bullied him around, and it's a tough L if you're Tennessee. You're 5-3 though. You still feel like you're fairly comfortably win the AFC South.
Yes.
You would like to. What's that?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're winning the AFC South.
Their magic number might be like 2 or something like that. Honestly.
Hey, Breech, I got a couple questions for you.
Fire away.
First question: do the Titans win this game with Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was literally so. You know what's funny, Wilson, is that. Yes, they do. That's all it comes down to. I mean, you look at Malik, you look at his numbers, and you go 5 for 16. You can't, and all of that was, they got 1 first down, I think, in the second half. And so he played as absolutely, I don't want to say badly, but he did what he was asked, but they couldn't throw the ball. That was it. He could not throw the ball. And if you have just a quarterback in there who can throw the ball, then I think the Titans do a lot more.
One thing quickly, Chris Conley absolutely screwed him by dropping the ball that hit him right in the hands at the end of in the second quarter, I believe. But otherwise, he did what he was told to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would say, Brinson mentioned that there were a couple of passes that were dropped. He had maybe 2 passes dropped, but the rest of it was just he was airmailing it. He didn't look comfortable. He's a rookie quarterback, though, so that's what you expect. But yes, Wilson, to answer your question, I do think they win this game with Ryan Tannehill.
They were one of 11 on third down, by the way.
That's not great.
And the overtime play calling was like, why? Like, I think you just need to try to run Derrick Henry 3 or 4 times. Just hope
I think the second half play calling actually is the question you need to ask first. Why did Derrick Henry have 17 carries and only have 23 rushing yards in the second half?
Yeah, the Chiefs did a much better job on defense of bottling him up.
They didn't give him the ball. I don't think that was it. They didn't give him the ball. Most of those carries came in the first half.
Yeah. They didn't. They really didn't give him the ball. And they had the lead too. They should have been pressing downhill with.
He only had 7 carries in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, so I mean, the game was obviously close throughout, and the Titans were leading for second quarter on. And I think there was a 7-drive stretch where the Chiefs hadn't scored, which is never happens in the Patrick Mahomes era. You have to go back to 2019 against the Colts. I think it's the last time it happened.
Punt, interception, missed field goal, punt. So it's actually, yes, seven drives.
And they finally scored on the second drive of the second half. But until then, the Titans were controlling things.
The second drive of the fourth quarter, and they needed like 3 pretty ridiculous Mahomes scrambles, including a 20-yard scramble on like 3rd and 15 to pick up, to actually score on a 13-play, 93-yard drive that lasted 7 minutes.
I will say that really felt like that was the game. At that point, it was still 17-9, but when Mahomes ran 20 yards on 3rd and 17, you could just see that totally deflate the Titans defense. And, they stepped up and made a couple stops in overtime and a couple stops at the end of regulation, but that just felt like kind of the backbreaker. But, respect to Mike Vrabel, who literally just says, you know what? I found this coaching handbook from 1971, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to play defense. I'm going to run the football. I'm going to do the opposite of what everyone else does nowadays, and I am going to win that way. And he does it well. I mean, Brinson, you said he should be coach of the year conversation. He
should be. No, we don't give enough credit. And you know what's funny? I think you are in this category as well, too, Breech. I don't want to lump you in, but I know that Brinson and I were all in on the Matt Ryan Express train, straight to hell. Like, we thought that team was going to crush the division. And we're like,
I had the Jaguars eventually, but yes.
Yeah, that's actually better than the Colts. But the point is that no one's taking the Titans seriously because of Ryan Tannehill and the way he played in that Bengals game. And for some reason, because Mike Vrabel played linebacker, my sort of initial knee-jerk reaction said, oh, he's a meathead, when in fact I know that he's incredibly smart. And to your point, Breech, he does what a lot of coaches struggle to do, in that he understands his personnel and he builds his team around it. He doesn't try to make this team be the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, for example, and a ton of credit to him. Our buddy Todd Furman tweeted this out late in the game, or the game just in it, either way. He said, tonight was the 5th game this season that the Titans failed to accumulate 255 yards of total offense. Mike Vrabel's a damn sorcerer to have this team at 5-3. And I think that's the truth.
I mean, they were averaging like 9.9 yards per play and 8.3 yards per carry in the first half. Any guesses as to how long their longest drive was in the second half?
Well, I believe they only had one first down.
Yardage and play-wise.
Play-wise, they didn't.
16 yards.
8 plays?
12 yards. And the play-wise, 5 plays. Their shortest drive was negative 16 yards in overtime, which is not considered very good.
No, they're not. This is a good football team. They're going to win the division. Yeah.
They need Tannehill to come back and get healthy, and they need to there's no reason that team doesn't have A.J. Brown.
This game was incredibly important for the Chiefs, and then we can move on because a lot of times we get stuck in the first game. Because I feel like Breech, this was almost a must-win game, only because of what happened in the Bills-Jets game earlier. Because now you're tied atop the conference. You lose this game, it feels like it's pretty close to over. And here's A.J. Brown, if you're watching on YouTube, tweeting this out during the game. Ain't nobody open, talking about the Titans wide receivers. And it's a picture of him, a gif that he tweeted out of some guy laughing, looking at his phone, which Traylon Burks
and if the Titans were funny, they would tweet back, even if somebody was open, our quarterback wouldn't have gotten him the ball. It wouldn't have mattered. With Willis back there, it just wouldn't have mattered. He was too much pressure.
I don't think it would be a good move.
I think it's called a self-own.
That's
all right. One last thing we can move on. Patrick Mahomes has now won how many straight games in which he has trailed at halftime?
All of them.
9.
5.
Breech saw the tweet. It's 5.
I have no idea. I don't.
No idea.
I didn't know what you're talking about.
5, right? Yeah, sure. All right, let's move on.
I just knew that Brinson's usually off by 4, so I just had to guess: should I go 4 higher or 4 lower?
Wilson managed to get 2 last things in on that final game.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Moving on to look. There's a pair of games with shocking outcomes, and I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm going to ask it. And I don't expect anybody to know the answer, but and the answer may be never. I'm curious when the last time that the Packers lost to the Lions and the Bills lost to the Jets on the same in the same week, because those were easily the two biggest most shocking results of the week. We'll start with the Packers and the Lions. Lions 15, Packers 9. Statistically speaking, the Lions had the worst defense in football coming into this game. And somehow, for the first time in his career, Aaron Rodgers threw multiple red zone interceptions in the same game. He finished 23 of 43, 291 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. They had no rushing game. He led them in rushing yards, 4 carries for 40 yards. Jared Goff was not great. I mean, the Lions' offense wasn't incredible. It's just what a absolute debacle of a loss.
Debaclement
for the Green Bay Packers. By the way, multiple people in the chat pointed out that when Breech's voice gets really high, you can tell he's lying.
When he's lying, yeah.
I didn't guess it.
What? When did I say that?
All right, Breech. I'm gonna give you some stats, and you tell me whether this quarterback is Aaron Rodgers or Jared Goff. For the season, 14 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, passer rating of 91.8, passing yards 2,041.
I mean, I would Jared Goff.
It is Jared Goff, but it's a trick question because Rodgers' passer rating is lower, and he's thrown for 50 more yards. He has 14 and 7 as well. They are the same person.
Rodgers.
They're the same person, except for today, that Jared Goff was like the Aaron Rodgers MVP, and Aaron Rodgers was Jared Goff with his last season with the Rams.
That's where we are in the Aaron Rodgers career roller coaster. It was so high, and it just feels like it's one of those the big dip. And now it's going down.
MVPs, and now he had the worst start of his career, and he just lost to the Lions in a must-win game.
And this is I don't know if there were mistakes made in terms of the route running and all that, but when you throw interceptions like you throw to Aiden Hutchinson, that is 100% on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what math that you could come up with that makes it not an Aaron Rodgers. And the previous one he threw in the red zone was equally as bad. And I don't know. There are no easy fixes. There were reports before the game that the Packers went hard after Chase Claypool and Darren Waller. Not hard enough. And it felt like too little too late when you had all these opportunities to draft and sign these wide receivers over the last 2.5 years, and you wait to the trade deadline when your team is struggling beyond belief because there's no one to catch the football. Romeo Doubs went off, I think, on the first series with an ankle injury. So it just
Aaron Jones got hurt as well.
Just snowballed. And then it's like you're playing. I'm trying to make a poker analogy. I can't make it. But my point is that you didn't prepare for this moment, and 3 years later you have no one to throw the football to, and you leaked the news that we were trying to get Chase Claypool and Darren Waller, and we couldn't do it. So here we are.
Yeah, I don't know what to do if you're the Packers at this point. You look at the conference standings, and Green Bay is just tied with Chicago and Arizona. The only teams that are ahead of are Detroit and Carolina, and they just lost to Detroit. They are still, they're not dead because the conference is.
Aaron Rodgers said in his post-game press conference, if we win our next 2 games, I think they're both at home, then we'll reevaluate. And I think we could all of us agree.
So what does that mean if they lose their next one? They don't even get it.
4.5-point underdogs at home to the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy, his old coach. It's surreal that we are here.
Aaron Rodgers also said we will be underdogs for probably the rest of the way, which I applaud him.
Did he really say that?
Yeah. He's a realist, if nothing else.
Well, so they had this is tough too. They had the Cowboys on Sunday and Sunday afternoon. That's obviously Fox has been giddy about that game for months, and now it's
and that's at Lambeau, right?
Yeah, it's at Lambeau. And then they have to play on a short turnaround Derrick Henry on Thursday night. Derrick Henry and the Titans, who we just saw, which is a real problem. Like that's not the guy you want to face. Like if you have to go, if the Cowboys can really, if the Cowboys do what they want to do, which is pound the ball with Zeke, and they beat up your defense, and then you like 4 days later you have to face Derrick Henry. That's not a great setup.
I would argue if you can't beat the Lions, any team on your schedule is a team you don't want to face.
Have you seen this? I mean, they also lost to the Commanders. They're on a 5-game losing streak. This is unpackers like. The cheese is getting rotten.
Aaron Rodgers' career. The 5 teams they've lost to are the No, they beat the Buccaneers, and they lost to. Wait, sorry, I did that wrong. They lost to the Giants, the Jets, the Commanders, the Bills, and the Lions.
Jets are good, it turns out. But
yeah,
yes,
but if you're like kicking out like a 5-game losing streak, that if I told you that they were playing those 5 games, you would have said they're going 4-1 before.
Yeah, but this season has been bananas. Like this season, I think maybe we say it every year, but it feels like more than every other season in recent memory. It's been sort of crazy. You know, the funny thing is, I so desperately wanted the Steelers to get Russell Wilson and or Aaron Rodgers this offseason. Turns out Mr. Trubisky's the best of the 3 quarterbacks.
Didn't see that.
And you know the thing about this game though is that it literally you can pin the loss on Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
yes.
You just look, the Packers gained 389 yards. Their defense held the Lions to under 260 yards. The Lions had 254 yards of total offense and won this game because Aaron Rodgers threw 3 interceptions.
You went 0-4 in the red zone. You go 0-4 in the red zone, you're not winning a whole lot of games.
So the game started. The Lions went for it on 4th and 1, didn't get it. Not surprised. Deep in the Green Bay territory at the +7 yard line. Jesus. Green Bay drives the length of the field, and that's the very first time that Aaron Rodgers threw a red zone interception in the afternoon. It wasn't his last time. And that sort of set the stage for the rest of the day. Just head-scratching play after head-scratching play offensively. And, you know, you lost to the Lions. And the Lions have had some close games that they probably should have won. This feels like the first time in a Dan Campbell era where they won a game that it was close. So congratulations on that. But to your point, Breech, this is not the Packers team we're used to, and it feels like things are going to get worse before they get better. But that, I mean, Aaron Rodgers at some point is going to retire, presumably after the end of the year, and then you got to sort all this stuff out in a post-Aaron Rodgers world.
The Little Wayne, aka Wheezy, aka Little Tudici, tweeted out, RIP to the season. We should have gotten rid of 12 before the season. Ouch. We got Little Wayne tweeting that you should have gotten rid of your quarterback before the season. That's a tough scene.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much longer Twitter's going to last, but there were a lot of people pushing back on Twitter about how much they are all out on Aaron Rodgers as Packers fans. And I get it. Like, people were like that with Big Ben last year. People were like that with Carson Palmer back in the day, even though probably social media wasn't a thing. But, you know, fans that have been spoiled forever are sometimes the worst fans. They expect the level of play to be the same no matter what. And look, man, to me, the big issue is the front office not fixing this team. And maybe we'll find out. I don't want to push too hard. Maybe we'll find out this is a Russ Wilson situation. And once that Aaron leaves, everything will be magically better. I don't feel like it is, but they haven't helped them with the weapons they put around them. That's all I'll say.
And that's the thing. If Devontae Adams was still there, or they had made a trade, would Aaron Rodgers? Let's go back to the classic Ryan Wilson theory of if you put an awesome player with the quarterback will likely improve by a lot. And so is Aaron Rodgers' talent still there? And it's just, this is a byproduct of the fact that he literally has no one to throw to, or has he dropped off a little bit and it's been exacerbated by the fact that he has no one to throw to?
Let me ask you this. So I think Schefter may have reported it. I don't know if it's someone else, but let's assume that they had the opportunity to get Chase Claypool and Darren Waller. Would you give up a first, second, third, and a fourth for those two players, and you can pick the draft years that those draft picks are given up?
Wait, what?
First, second, third, and fourth in 2023, 2024. You can split it up that way. For Chase Claypool and Darren Waller, would you have made that move if you're the Packers?
Four. That's a lot of picks.
Well, do you want to get better or not? You waited to the last minute to fix the wide receiver problem. So, I mean, clearly they didn't do it because they didn't, the moves weren't made, but I feel if you're,
they should have, because it's your Super Bowl window. Aaron Rodgers' contract is your Super Bowl window. You either go all in or you don't. And
okay, that's all I'm asking. It's a high price to pay for sure. And I know Brinson hates the fact that Chase Claypool went for that second round pick, but if you have Aaron Rodgers and it is your Super Bowl window and you want to turn things around, I think maybe they offered that. and they just wasn't enough. But I feel like at
No,
first,
I mean, the report was that the Steelers were like, well, no, the Bears pick is going to be much better than.
Well, it was a Packers second rounder and a late round pick. I don't know what the Darren Waller thing was, but I just made it up.
And Jay Glazer also reported that the Packers were willing to trade a first rounder for DJ Moore.
Sweet mercy.
Panthers should have done that.
The Panthers could have had 3 first round picks for DJ Moore and Brian Burns.
Well, I said the Burns thing too. It came out that it was the Rams 24 and 25 picks. Like,
yeah, they don't have any picks.
But like if you're a GM working for David Tepper, do you assume in 2022 that you're going to be working there?
No, I get that, and I would imagine that's the literal conversation you have if you're Scott Fitter. Like,
look, man,
I also think that the Panthers, excuse me, I think but they didn't want to. They wanted to make the team attractive for whoever they think they're going to land as their next coach too.
All right, what were you going to say, Breech?
I don't know. Just that's not a great way to GM. You're not if you don't want to improve your team because you're afraid you might not be there.
Well, that's how half of the NFL works, if not 3/4.
Weird.
I have it at 2/3, but yeah, I take your point.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Lions, anything there? Dan Campbell survives another week.
I think this is the kind of win for, and we'll get to the Jets in a second too, but I think this is the kind of win for Dan Campbell that helps him survive through this, assuming they don't lose the rest of their games. But like they had lost so many games, they look so beat down, and beating the Packers, a team that has owned this division, and showing like that's a huge thing for ownership in the front office too when you're evaluating a coach. I feel like because this is the team that's dominated this division for so long. You know, like you've been through like was it Adam Shine? Let's see, they're rebuilding since 1935. Detroit Lions, like you know, this is the team that has, and the Packers have just been a front runner for 25 years, and now you know you show like, hey, we can hang with these guys even if they stink.
All right, what's next?
All right. Rough scene when your QBR Kenny Pickett has a higher QBR than Aaron Rodgers.
Keep it up, Billy. Keep it up.
Wait, is that an insult to Kenny Pickett?
It ain't great.
That's not an insult
to Aaron Rodgers.
We're just pointing out that Aaron Rodgers is not the best quarterback this year.
Breech.
All right, let's move on. All right, so let me ask you this: which I mean, I think the answer is easily the Packers, but which loss was worse, the Packers to the Lions or the Bills to the Jets? They both are like again, like I cannot. I mean, I bet it's been a long time since those teams both lost to those other teams.
The Bills loss was worse because the Packers stink, and the Bills now have allowed the Chiefs to get back into the race for the
Packers loss was worse.
The Packers aren't going anywhere. The Bills
are a 5-win team. Like they're a good team. So, I mean,
it's worse in the sense that I think the Jets are a good football team, but it's worse in the sense that now they've allowed the Chiefs to get back into the race for the home field advantage.
Well, it's like the Packers loss is more humiliating because you're and more debilitating for your season hopes of making the playoffs. But the Bills loss is worse if you actually if we're going to be real, like a realist about the Packers situation, which is that they're just not good, and the Bills, who are very good, and are hoping to make a Super Bowl run. They do this every and again, like I don't want to. Let's give the Jets credit, right? They're 6-3. They are winning games. They're close games. I think Robert Saleh is a good coach. I think the Jets defense is playing some great football, but Josh Allen made some horrendous mistakes too. Like he and Aaron Rodgers just seem very parallel, just in terms of like the interceptions that he threw. 18-34, 205 yards, 2 picks. He led the team with 9 carries, 86 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns.
No touchdowns.
No touchdowns. Yeah. Yep.
Crazy town.
The James Robinson and Michael Carter were able to run fairly effectively on them. Zach Wilson didn't turn the ball over. That's huge. And Sauce Gardner is just the truth, man.
Yeah, Sauce actually said after the game, he told our Evan Washburn, the incredibly handsome Evan Washburn, that he actually baited Josh Allen into that interception. And this is a guy that's been playing for 2 months in the NFL. That's how good Sauce Gardner is. The previous interception was a terrible interception to Jordan Whitehead. He almost threw another interception to Jordan Whitehead in the second half that Jordan somehow couldn't hold on to. It was weird, man. And I was actually thinking during the game, remember 2 years ago, I think it was the Texans playoff game where Allen fell down and threw the ball behind his head, and that was sort of
like a Rosencopter moment,
right? It encapsulated Josh Allen to that point that he would do a lot of things well and have like a crazy play or two that topsy-turvy the game for the Bills. We didn't see that for the last 2 years, and I felt like this game was the first time since then that I was like, okay, this it's a little too loose with the balls. It felt a little too Patrick Mahomes-y at times. Sometimes when Mahomes is pressing, he'll be loose with the ball, but it wasn't like they were losing to the point that was necessary. And I'm sure it's just a one-off. It's not the end of the world. Although, Brinson, you rightly bring up the game last year where they scored 3 or 6 points against the Jaguars.
6 points against the Jaguars in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't that game, and I think you're right. It's important to give credit to the Jets and Robert Saleh. Zach Wilson looked good for stretches. He wasn't asked to do a whole bunch, but certainly, when you're 18 for 25, that's impressive, and that's asking your quarterback to do about 5,000 times more than what the Titans asked Malik Willis to do. And the running game, like there was a drive, 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, James Robinson and Michael Carter absolutely took over. The Bills' run D had no answers. And at that point, it was 17-17, all tied up. Yep, that's what it was, 17-17. That previous drive is when Josh Allen almost threw that other interception to Jordan Whitehead. And the Jets marched down the field, running the ball, I think, the entire way with James Robinson and Michael Carter. And both guys were absolutely lights out. And the Bills' run D has been the Bills' defense has been banged up. The run D had no answers on that drive, and they obviously went on to win that football game with the field goal there. So huge.
I want to. Somebody in the chat mentioned that last week we were like, oh, the Bills were just kind of messing around in that second half, like blah 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 blah.
Did they play last week?
What's that?
Did they play last week?
Play the Packers. Well, I was just going to say that this felt similar. Instead of saying they're messing around, it's like, was this the start of this kind of not downside because it's still a good offense?
Well, I mean, to your point, Breech, but the two things that really stood out in this game in particular were like the exact things that happened in that second half, where it was like Josh Allen being inaccurate,
dumb Josh Allen interceptions,
and them being unable to stop the run at times.
Yeah, and I think that really. So now you have, instead of just 2 bad quarters of football where you kind of overlooked it last week because they built such a big lead and hung on to win, so it didn't really matter that they didn't play great in the second half. But now you have 4 more quarters, and so now we've got an offense that's been struggling for 6 quarters. Josh Allen hasn't been great for 6 quarters, and that's where you get maybe a little bit concerned. And, to the Jets' credit, this was a game where Josh Allen throws that dumb interception on the Bills' first possession when they drive all the way down inside the Jets' 15-yard line. And that's when Whitehead came up with that first pick where Josh Allen literally just threw it right to him. I mean, it was just a dumb throw. He should have just tossed it away. And so it was like, oh my gosh, what's happening with Josh Allen? But then, they go out and they jump out to a 14-3 lead anyway. And it was like, okay, well, they're just going to step on the gas. They're going to just totally dispose of the Jets here and this game's over. But, you guys keep talking about how the Jets stuck with their running game. They stayed within their game plan and just kind of took the punch the Bills threw and said, all right, well, you didn't knock us out, and now we're coming back at you. So it was interesting to see the Bills kind of get beat up like this, especially because they built that 14-3 lead. I'll be honest, I didn't think I didn't think the Jets were going to win after the Skycam malfunction.
That was wild,
wasted
man.
10 minutes. I mean, we're just sitting there going, hey, this is going to drag.
CBS had to cut to a different game.
So here's the thing, and this has been mentioned a couple of times in the comments. So after the field goal put the Jets ahead 20-17 on the last drive by the Bills, the very first play, number 47, I don't know who it is for the Jets. I didn't have time to look it up. Strip sacked Allen. The Bills recovered, but Allen grabbed his elbow the subsequent 2 plays, and you would imagine there's some concern there how that's going to play itself out, because God forbid that the dude gets injured, because that's Case Keenum's a good,
I believe.
Case Keenum's a good quarterback. He ain't Josh Allen. So that's a problem. And also credit to Josh Allen after the game, who said it's tough to win when your quarterback plays like ish. And he actually said S-H-I-T.
So, we have a lot of cuss words from quarterbacks. So.
Yeah, the QB's dropping F-bombs.
By the way, I'll mention when we get to, remind me to make fun of Breech when we get to the Buccaneers game. Go ahead.
Okay.
Can't make fun of me.
Do you want to, anything else from this game?
No, huge win for the Jets.
Would you have any interest in any of these numbers?
Yes.
Oh my God! By the way, the Vikings are minus 3,000 to win the NFC North. That is wild. Packers 15-1. You just can't take that. We'll get to the Vikings in a second. But Bills minus 550. Dolphins plus 575.
What is this? The Super Bowl?
No, this is the AFC East.
Minus 550. What'd you say next?
Dolphins plus 575. Pats 20-1. Jets 22-1.
Why are the Jets below the Patriots?
22-1 Jets is intriguing. Just
why not take the Dolphins? That's plus money.
Sure, either one.
Bet on all of them except for the Bills.
Yeah, there you go.
You're probably going to lose, but I don't hate it. The Bills.
I don't know if you're probably going to lose.
There was something like those odds would shift so dramatically if there's something wrong with Josh Allen's elbow.
Well, yeah, don't put that out there.
Okay.
Case
I'd nibble on the Jets at 22-1. I think that's not a terrible number.
No, they're playing. And here's the thing: Zach Wilson played much better this week. There were talks before the game that Robert Saleh laid into him for being a moron last week, and I think that's fair. You should do that. He played much better, took care of the ball, he didn't throw any Josh Allen / Aaron Rodgers interceptions this week, and that's progress.
Sure is. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, who showed up on Sunday? Was it church-going Kirk Cousins or his new alter ego? Next. Kirk Cousins got his revenge in Washington. The only revenge game. I couldn't even come up with a revenge game parlay because there's only one game this week. Minnesota won 20-17 on the road. Cousins' first regular season game back in Washington against a team that franchise tag gave him millions and millions of dollars before cutting him loose. Remember, this is kind of how Kirby came around, I think, too, because remember Bruce Allen called him Kurt, as if he didn't know this guy's name that he'd been drafted and worked with for freaking 5 years. 22 of 40, 265, 2 touchdowns a pick. Dalvin Cook didn't do much on the ground. Washington really heck of an effort here, and it stings for them because, man, if the Commanders win this game, they're 5-4, and every team in the NFC, every team in both Eastern divisions would have been above 500, which is just wild. Did you see Wilson? I'll tell you what. Talking about this game, I'll find the shot of Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah, so
shirtless on an airplane.
On an airplane.
A bunch of chains.
Last time I went shirtless on an airplane, I got thrown off and was asked to never fly again.
And you were telling everyone you were Kirk Cousins, which is weird. Breech, let me ask you this. So, Aaron Rodgers said if they win the next 2 games, they're right back in it. And to me, that I said, okay, this Packers football team is absolutely dog doo-doo terrible. But this Vikings team continues to play, I feel like, sort of the same way they did on the field with Mike Zimmer. The difference is they like Kevin O'Connell and they're winning. They're not losing these close games. But are you convinced that this Vikings team, which just seems to play down to the level of their opponents until the last 5 minutes, is legit? Or is there going to be a Kirby Cousins moment? And Kirby Cousins I use as an all-encompassing word of just the Vikings and up at some point going forward.
Well, I think the biggest question about the Vikings right now is that exactly 0 of their wins have come against teams that currently have a winning record. Mm-hmm. Except they did. Okay, I take that back. They have 1 win over a team with a winning record. It's the Dolphins, but that was the game to a miss. So it was Teddy Bridgewater who also got injured. So the Dolphins were down to the 3rd string quarterback. So they've beaten 6 teams that don't have a winning record and 1 team that had a 3rd string quarterback. So I think the question becomes, what's going to happen when they play a team like the Bills, like they do upcoming, and the Cowboys like they do in the next 2 weeks. So I don't know that they have been, I don't want to say tested because they get tested every single week. They build a lead, they lose the lead, they come back and win. And that is just like how the Vikings play football.
Here, I need you to answer the question, politician. Do you trust the Vikings?
I don't know if I trust him against a good team.
Brinson, his voice went up.
It sure did. Because he's lying. Switch to the next photo there, Billy, and let's see the Kirk on the shirtless on the. Look at this guy.
I love it. Did you see the Pardon My Take tweet? That was a fantastic.
This is the Pardon My Take tweet. Yeah, it's
that's Brinson on South Beach.
It's Kirk Cousins went from "I'll have her home by 8, sir" to "She calls me daddy too," which is this Kirk Cousins. And Justin Jefferson quote tweeted it. It was like dying laughing. And how could you not be? Look, can you imagine this scene, this Kirk Cousins scene? These glasses, these chains, shirtless on an airplane, flying back from Washington to Minnesota.
He was dancing. Like I saw the video. He was like dancing in the aisles. Here's my thing. Like my first thought was, because I'm so OCD and nervous, like this plane's at 30,000 feet and you have 100 people, like the finely tuned athletes who all weigh over 200 pounds, jumping up and down in an airplane at 30,000 feet. And I'm like, please quit jumping. I don't want the floor to collapse. I don't want anything happening to the airplane. Enjoy yourselves quietly in your seat. Thank you.
Dude, people party on airplanes all the time.
Not the airplanes I'm on.
Maybe you should be on Russell Wilson airplanes.
There you go.
Pull up your pants, take off the bra, and be a man.
What is it? Team 3? Is that what it's called? Club 3? What's it called?
I have no idea.
But anyway, so Brinson, do you trust this Vikings team? Because they did not play well in this game for large stretches.
I think I trust them to.
I can't wait to hear that.
I trust them. No, I think I trust them. I don't know.
Cody Ryan in the comments says better dancing on the plane than doing high knees. True that, sir.
Absolutely.
Great call.
I mean, so I feel like they're not getting their proper respect. They're only lost to the Eagles, but then I guess you do look at it, you're like, they thumped the Packers. Turns out the Packers were just not good. They barely
I'm not upset with their schedule. I'm just saying with the way they played during the course of the game, feels like how they used to play a lot.
And their schedule has been cake.
No, and like you can't. I don't think when we're bashing people for schedule, we're not bashing them for their schedule because they're beating the teams in front of them, which you have to do. It's just what happens when they play the Eagles in the playoffs. Are you going to pick the Eagles or are you going to pick the Vikings? That's kind of what Ryan's saying. Do we trust them? Because hey, you can only play the games you're scheduled, and if you win them,
7-1. They're 7-1.
Exactly, they're 7-1. This is a good team, but are they going to be good and win games in January?
By the way, there are 4.5 games up in the division.
It's a wrap.
It is the largest lead in a division through 9 weeks since the merger, 1970. 2011 Niners 5, 1990 Niners 5, 1973 Vikings 5, 2022 Vikings 4.5, 2007 Patriots 4.5. And the last 3 times they started 7-1, they made the NFC Championship game all 3 times. 98,
and I will say this. Go ahead. Sorry.
2009.
I'll say this. I like Kevin O'Connell.
Yep.
I like it's obviously based on Kirk Cousins' attire on the plane. He's popular. I'm glad he's playing better. And there's a lot of reasons for optimism. Posmu says in the comments that means you don't trust 15 teams in the NFC. Yeah, that. I don't.
I'm not sure I trust 32 teams in the NFL. Like I'm not sure I trust.
No, the NFC is. If you look at that side of the ledger, there, it ain't unicorns.
I mean, but today showed that. Like, are you sure you can trust the Bills and the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, you can trust them over the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys, and the Giants, and the 49ers.
I trust the Seahawks actually.
I do too, but compared to the teams you're mentioning. But anyway,
and look, to be clear, last year they went 6-8 in one-score games. That's an outrageous number of one-score games. They're now 6-0 in one-score games. As Brian J points out in the comments, yes, of course it is difficult to win in the NFL. When you win games, celebrate it. It is like every week it is hard to win in the NFL.
And Kirby made a fantastic throw to Dalvin on that little wheel route. One had a catch by Dalvin in the end zone. That was a dime.
Yep.
So yeah, taking nothing away.
I will say this:
I'm just
6-0 in one-score games is extremely unsustainable.
You're basically saying they're the 2021 Atlanta Falcons. Okay, next game.
Okay,
that's a joke. Sort of.
Speaking of the Falcons, Chargers 20, Falcons 17. Tough scene for Atlanta. I felt like there were a lot of games lost today that shouldn't have been. Like a lot of teams who had like the W in their pocket and lost them. And man,
can we start at the end? Because this game was, I
thought
the
most Falcons loss ever.
I thought Mina Kimes had the perfect tweet.
I'm getting ice. You keep talking
for how this thing went, and I'll describe the play as I try to also find the Kimes tweet at the same time. There it is. Okay, so the play breach. I was watching this live and saying, Austin Eckler, who had a great day, please, whatever you do, don't fumble. So the game is tied 17-17. Austin Eckler gets the ball at the plus 20-yard line on I think it was a pass from Justin Herbert as time's about late in the game.
Under a minute left.
34 seconds to go. Plus 20. He fumbles. It's recovered by T. Graham for the Falcons. I didn't look up his first name. Who picks it up? I was like, oh my God, the Falcons. He's going to run it. What's his first name? Taquan Graham. I said, oh my God, he's going to run it back. They're going to win this game. He fumbles at the Chargers 40. And then the Chargers recover. And they had to go to the instant replay to make sure that Austin Eckler wasn't down initially. He wasn't down. Again, I don't know why you wouldn't just cover up the football. And you're like, okay, so now this is probably going to go to overtime. On the very next play, Justin Herbert hits Josh Palmer for 22 yards. So now they have the ball a yard ahead of where they would have had it had Austin Eckler fallen down without fumbling. And then they eventually kick the game-winning field goal by your guy, Cameron Dicker. And after the game, he was asked, this is hilarious. So he's played with a bunch of teams this year, and I'll have some trivia questions for you in a second. But he said that he was about to head to a Carrie Underwood concert last week when he got the call that LA was signing him. And, of course, he kicks the game-winning field goal. That was from Lindsay Theory from ESPN. And I thought that Mina's tweet said it all. Of course, stupid Twitter reset. I don't want to blame anyone for that, but I'm going to blame for Twitter being not great. Mina tweeted, the Chargers just chargered, talking about the Eckler play. And then she said, then the Falcons responded by falconing, talking about the Graham fumble. That was one of the craziest plays I've seen this season.
But then the whole entire game was that play. Like that play perfectly encapsulated the whole entire game. Because you're talking about earlier in the second half, the Falcons drove down to inside the Chargers 15-yard line, and Drake London catches the ball. He's at
gosh.
He's at the 5-yard line. It looks like, he's not going to the end zone, going to get tackled. Falcons might score a touchdown here. At that point, the Chargers winning 14-10. The Falcons driving to take the lead. No, Khalil Mack says, give me the ball, just takes the football from him and give me the ball and starts running the other way. And Drake London's just like, what the hell just happened? So that was another thing that happened here. And then the Chargers do absolutely nothing with that because Justin Herbert throws an interception 3 plays later, which is kind of those two things, except they happen on one play with the Austin Eckler thing. And the thing is, if Taquan Graham...
let me stop you quickly before you get... So after the Khalil Mack strip, the very next drive, that's when Austin Eckler looked like he landed on top of Oliver, the cornerback, and was going to run for a 37-yard touchdown. His forearm happened to be down. Another just sort of crazy play in a game full of crazy plays.
And they busted out like this Zapruder film to prove that he was down because they're looking at all the angles. They're like, no, we got this one showing his elbow in the back corner next to the jersey, and it just barely touched the surface of the ground. So he is definitely down. We're taking his touchdown off the board. And also, Younghoe Koo missed a field goal in the second half, and that's not something you usually see. So it was just like, this is what you expect from a Chargers and a Falcons game. And you know what? The other part is that, we kind of got a taste of why maybe Arthur Smith doesn't let Marcus Mariota throw all that often, is that he had a couple bad misses. He had one Kyle Pitts that would have been a surefire touchdown.
After the sort of almost Eckler get up and run, I wasn't tackle play. The next series, wide ass open, missed Kyle Pitts.
So that was rough. But yeah, this was typical Chargers, typical Falcons, and the Falcons just out Chargers the Charger.
All right, Brinson. Cameron Dicker has kicked how many game-winning field goals this year, and for whom?
2, one for the Eagles and one for the Chargers.
No,
just 2 games.
Let's look at the same tweet I did. Dang it. You didn't say it in the
I heard they mentioned it on the broadcast.
Yeah, good for that dude.
Yeah, seriously, that's awesome. All right, I found, by the way, somebody in the comments is mad about your terrible Twitter takes, Wilson.
Uh-oh.
I don't think you understand. He's actually just reading Mina Kimes' tweets.
I just read one tweet. I gave her credit for it.
Yeah, no, I'm not ripping you, but like, it's not your takes.
No,
I think his Twitter takes are
Chargers just Chargers, the Falcons just Falcons.
He's throwing backhanded insults at the person who just bought Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like Matt Roxbury says, $8. Wilson, cough it up. that's funny.
My fault. I missed it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right because I said a couple backhanded things. Fair enough.
Oh, not his takes on Twitter. His takes about Twitter. Oh, yeah. Okay. My bad. My bad, Matt Roxbury. That's funny.
Keep up, Grandpa.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
Well,
so let me ask you this:
burning up in this sweatshirt. This is unnecessary.
Yeah, Brinson is confused as usual, of course, Billy. So last year we joked about all the one-score games that the Falcons won. They ended up winning 7 games, I think.
Yep.
This Falcons team is much better than last year's team, right?
Arthur Smith's got to be in the mix for Coach of the Year too.
Well, hold on now. Let's not go that far. Let's just start with that. They're much better though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. High voice, but I think so.
Yeah.
Sure. No, they definitely are.
And they should have won this game. I mean, crazy things happen. I mean, I'm sure Taquan Graham is beside himself after the refumble, as I'll call it. And so is Drake Jackson. But Good news, Tyler Algier, who I love coming out of BYU, he's good. Cordell Patterson's back. He's also still really good. There's some things to fix, but that was a good game, and the Chargers are coming off their bye. So, I
mean, it is interesting. Like, you get Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley looks pretty good. Patterson's like the guy in that offense. You have, we're not going to see a lot of Desmond Ridder because Mariota's playing pretty well, or like functionally in that offense that Arthur Smith has designed. You have Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London. I don't know. I mean, like, those are some. We rip the Bears and the Falcons as having the worst rosters in football routinely in the offseason, and it's very clear that they are being coached up in much better fashion than we expected. All right. Moving on to the same Bears who lost 35-32. Our boy Matt Snyder texted me, Wilson. He'd been covering the World Series. I don't know. Did you guys catch who won the World Series? Was it the Phillies or somebody else?
Billy, did the Eagles win the World Series?
Billy has been waiting to use that one.
Yeah,
I
think so. I don't know that other one.
That was what was the DiCaprio one?
Oh, that was, I don't know. Wall Street? Wolf of Wall Street?
I don't think maybe. Okay, enough. Justin Fields, 15 carries, 178 yards, the most rush yards by a quarterback in regular season NFL history, beating Michael Vick's record of 173 from 2002. The first player in NFL history with 3 pass touchdowns and 140 plus rush yards in a single game. Also through 17 to 28, 123 yards and 3 touchdowns. It does feel like the last 3 weeks, Justin Fields has become a different player and is kind of
fun.
Oh, it was Great Gatsby. Sorry. Oh, but don't tell me to read a book. Read a book because I want to because I haven't seen Great Gatsby's the movie.
Focus. Stay focused. Come on, talk about Justin Fields.
Jay Fields Fitzgerald.
Yeah, this game was amazing.
A book for Christmas.
This game was. I don't remember the last time I had fun watching the Bears play.
Ever.
This was awesome. And you could argue that the Bears had opportunities to win this game. And our buddy Matt Snyder pointed out that Eddie Jackson got called for a bogus pass interference call against Jalen Waddle with about 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I had to look it up because I didn't see it when it happened live, and it was incredibly bogus. That said, it feels like Justin Fields is turning the corner. It's funny. He was 17-28 for 123, like not huge numbers passing wise. And there are a lot of quarterbacks today that were teens for 20s. But he was incredibly efficient. He took I think it was 3rd and 6 that he took it to a 61-yard touchdown run. And the thing is, when he gets the corner, probably more than any other quarterback, off the top of my head, even Kyler Murray, like he's gone.
I'm taking this hoodie off. We'll be right back.
Okay. You take the hoodie off. And it feels like Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator for the Bears, has finally realized how to best utilize Justin Fields, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So that's great. And what do you think about the Bears? And then we can circle back to the suddenly unbeatable Dolphins.
I mean, it's just crazy that it took this long for Getsy to figure it out. Apparently, he had a come to Jesus moment at some point after their Week 6 loss. Because remember, against the Commanders, they only scored 7 points in that Thursday night game, that primetime game that was absolutely crazy. And then the following week, they played on Monday night against the Patriots and put up 33 in New England and just smashed the Patriots. And it was like, where did this come from? And I think everyone thought it was a fluke, and then put up 29 against the Cowboys, even though they got destroyed. We just saw them put up 32. I mean, who are the Bears that they're scoring 29 points or more in 3 straight games? Like, it just doesn't even seem believable. And so the offense keeps playing like this. You look at the 3-6 teams in the NFC. I feel better about the Bears right now than I do about the Packers.
Oh, it's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And someone in the chat mentioned that the Chase Claypool missed OPI or the DPI against Chase Claypool. I didn't see it, but our buddy Matt Snyder.
It probably should have been DPI.
He brought that up as well as a talking point in which to address. But
by the way, the hoodie was just too hot. I'm not going to get a book. I just showed you guys Huckleberry Finn. I
scribbled Huckleberry Finn on the cover of a book. What are you going to say?
On the cover of your Playboy magazine. That's
all right.
Right here, baby. One thing we noticed a couple weeks ago, or in the last 2 or 3 weeks, the play calling and what Luke Getsy is doing with Justin Fields is what we've been screaming at Matt Nagy to do last year, and what we've been asking the Bears to do for like the past basically 18 months. Like, use him in the run game. He had like 8 design runs for 80 yards or something like that, including that. I guess was a 61 yarder was not designed, right? That was sort of a.
It was a 3rd and 6. He went to scramble and he took off.
He jumps in the air and pump fakes, lands, and then just peels out of there. Like, the dude is a freak. I think the Dolphins defense is probably is willing to give up points and yards, and that's okay. Tua looks awesome.
Hold on, before we go to the Dolphins, would you like to apologize now or later about the Chase Claypool trade?
Oh, the Bears lost, so the pick actually got better.
That's an apology. We'll take it. All right, go ahead about Tua.
No, look, I don't. The Bears look like they're going to be like a frisky problem if they keep running this offense for Chase Claypool. I don't think they'll be. For Justin Fields, I don't think they'll be able to stop a ton of people. But I mean, like, would you right now? Who are you taking? You get one quarterback from last year's draft class. Who are you taking?
Oh yeah, I think about this when I'm watching the game. Let's draft it. Let's rank the quarterbacks in that class. So I'll go. I got to remember who they are because I got so many quarterbacks floating around my head. So it's Trevor. It's
Trevor, Zach,
Trey Lance,
Justin Fields, and your boy Mac Jones.
Yeah. So I'm going Justin, Trevor, and then Trey Lance is out, so I won't count him. Zach, and then Mac. Breech, what do you want?
My God. I don't want to rank them. That's what I want.
I'm going Trevor.
I probably have Justin first, though.
Zach.
All right, Breech. Brinson, go ahead, then Breech, because you were just mumbling.
Trevor, Justin, Mac, Zach.
Oh, interesting. All right, go ahead.
Maybe Zach Mac. I don't know.
No, you can't. Your first time go. Mac got a third place vote. Go ahead, Breech.
I think I probably have Justin at the top, and that's the only vote I have that matters.
Are you a Justin Fields guy now, Wilson?
Trying
to cover up your shame.
I had him. He was my 3rd QB coming out.
Oh, Davis Mills we could throw in there too, I guess.
No, he's 3rd round pick. That's Pete's guy.
Okay.
We're talking about the first rounders, but Davis is holding his own for sure.
Look, Mike McDaniel. Here's the thing about Tua.
Yeah, Mac is last. I apologize.
Tua is perfect for a Mike McDaniel system. He is a good decision maker. He gets the ball out quick. He is accurate in short yardage areas
and intermediate.
Like, this is me. I mean, like, quarterback. We say this all the time. The quarterback, the system, and the quarterback need to match up, and when they do, it really helps to launch someone's career trajectory in a way that maybe we didn't think was possible. And I'm not saying that we didn't think Tua could be this guy, but I don't think that this Tua explosion, this Tua, development is happening without the Tyreek Hill edition, without the Mike McDaniel edition, or without
more Tyreek than Mike McDaniel. I would argue.
I don't know. This based on my offense is awesome.
Based on my Wilson theory. Well, I'm also interested to see, mental note, at the end of the year, let's see who has better numbers, Jeff Wilson or Christian McCaffrey, after they change teams. Because
and real quick, there have been, it looks like, 15 games this year where a team has finished with 225 or more rushing yards.
Yeah.
15 games, right? The Bears are 2-3 when they rush for 225 yards or more, including today's loss. The rest of the NFL is 8-2 when they rush for.
Interesting. And the Bears coming into this game were running 60% of the time, which is a 1967 level rushing passing balance. So maybe Getsy has learned over the last few weeks that we need to get Justin Fields more involved, other than just turning around handing the ball to David Montgomery.
Definitely has, for sure. Okay, anything else in this game?
No, Tua is great. He struggles with the deep ball only because Tyreek runs faster than lightning, and Jalen Waddle does too. And deep ball, he's average at deep ball, not great. But everything else he does at a high level, and they're the second best team.
And I'll just throw in real quick. They already had Tyreek Hill. They already had Jalen Waddle. They already had Raheem Mostert. And now you throw in Jeff Wilson, who immediately shows up after this 49ers trade and is like, hey, I'm here, man. Can I do something? And what? 72 yard.
You know what I call Jeff Wilson?
Touchdown?
I call Jeff Wilson South Beach C-Mac.
He is.
By the way, two of the first Dolphins quarterback with 300 pass yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in back-to-back games. You may recall a guy named Dan Marino who played for this team.
Never heard of him. Who's the top 3 teams in the AFC? And I'm curious to what number 3 is basically.
Am I crazy? Did I hear BMAC say that the top 3 teams in the NFL, or was it the AFC? Is it an AFC question or in it?
AFC.
Okay. I heard I was like, Billy, by the way, you should hear what BMAC just said. He said it's Bills, Chiefs, and then Dolphins.
Yeah, who do you guys have as your number 3 team in the AFC?
I think probably
the Ravens, the Titans, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Chargers are the all teams.
I'll lean into my Ravens preseason pick, but I think the Dolphins are right there.
Breech,
so here's the crazy thing. I don't think the Titans are number 3, but I think they could beat anyone.
I get it. The funny thing is that as we sit here, the Bengals aren't even in the playoffs yet. We'll get to that in a second, which is crazy. I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
Crazy. What about the fact that Bill Groman and Charlie Hennigan have like more receiving yards through 9 games than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Like,
who?
Look at this graphic up here. The 1961 Oilers.
I was like, I haven't heard of these guys. When were they drafted?
Tyreek Hill also most receiving yards ever by a player in the first 9 games of the team. Jalen Waddle.
All right, I'm going Dolphins at number 3. What's next?
Okay, moving along to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh boy! By the way, I'm starting to kind of come around to this Josh McDaniels thing.
So, guess what I saw that was trending today, and it wasn't Twitter
Josh
related.
McDaniels?
Yeah, fire Josh McDaniels.
The Raiders from 2000 to 2021, when leading by 17 points or more, were 52-2. They were
what about this? What are they this season?
1-3 this season. They are tied currently for the most losses ever by a team in a single NFL season when leading by 17 points or more. It is week 9.
They have 9 more games to break the record.
So, Breech, you have a long history of crappy franchises. Can you explain what's going on with the Raiders?
This was the most bizarre performance probably of the
Did you see them play last week?
Well, they were horrible last week. So when they came out on fire, it was like they sat down the day after that loss to the Saints. They got shut out 24-0. And they said, you know what? We probably should start throwing it to Devontae Adams probably all the time because that's what really works for us. And that's what they came out and did this game. I mean, Devontae Adams put up a huge numbers, 9 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, all in the first half. You know what Devontae Adams did in the second half? Over under a half a catch.
I'll go under.
Well, since we just got a graphic where it says 1 completion by Derek Carr, I'll take under.
That one completion, he had 1 catch in the second half.
Oh, it's the Devontae.
Over hits. You got to read the fine print, Brinson.
That's fine.
So the fact that the Raiders, and before that shutout, Josh Jacobs had those huge games, consecutive huge games. I was like, oh my gosh, they can run the ball. They have Devontae Adams. Darren Waller, this offense is going to be unstoppable. Well, now Darren Waller's not healthy. Josh Jacobs, people are stopping him, and Devontae Adams can't carry this entire offense all the time. And if you put pressure on Derek Carr, he's not as good.
He's not good.
Yeah, Brinson, I was going to let you do the Derek Carr.
No. I'm not bashing Derek Carr.
So the Jaguars had not won any game in which they had fumbled coming into this game. Or turned the ball over, excuse me. They turned the ball over early in the first quarter, and thanks to the Raiders, they were still able to win a football game for the first time ever.
The Raiders are also, by the way, 0-5 on the road this season.
Not good.
It is the worst start by the Raiders since 2018. The Jaguars coming into this game when trailing by 17 points or more in franchise history, including the postseason, were 1-116.
Oh, I want to point out, since we were talking about how the Chargers always Charger things up and the Falcons always Falcon things up, the only 2 other teams besides the Raiders to blow a 17-point lead in 3 games, which is tied for the NFL record. The Raiders are tied with the 2020 Chargers and the 2003 Falcons.
I hate the 2020 Chargers.
Oh, God! No! God, please, no! No!
I mean, I don't, again, like, I've been pretty steadfast that the Cardinals and the Raiders can't fire their coaches because of financial reasons. Ugh.
So I was once I saw that Josh McDaniels was trending, I clicked on it, of course, because that's who I am.
Oh, boy.
And Raider Cody on Twitter tweeted this, and I think it's a fair point if you're a Raiders fan. I don't know Raider Cody, but it makes sense. So
Is he related to our Cody?
Maybe. So here's what he tweets. So you're going to blow 3 17-0 leads this season, lose 2 must-win games to terrible teams, continue to have the highest ticket prices in the NFL, and I think that's a sticking point. Slapping the most loyal fans in the world in the faces. Am I missing the big picture here? Fire the coaches, Mark Davis. And I do think there's something that we don't talk about because we don't pay to go to games unless you're Brinson going to state games because you're a loser.
I don't pay to go to games.
But you sneak in under the fence. I know exactly where it is too. But ticket prices are a concern. Like you're trading for Devontae Adams. You're hiring this big name coach. You're re-upping your players, Darren Waller, and you are playing like dog dookie times 10. I don't know what that looks like. It looks like the Raiders. So
the rest of the NFL with 17+ point leads this season is 44-2-1. The Raiders are 1-3.
Yeah, it happens.
And I think the 2 are the Ravens somehow.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I don't know what the answer is. Like, do you fire Josh? Like, is it Josh McDaniels? Is it something else? Like, why are they so terrible?
Well, the thing is, like, to build a 17-point lead, you actually have to play well for a portion of the game.
They were
that's the mind-boggling.
The Jaguars. The game's over. The Jaguars are getting smoked.
Once the Jaguars
running wide open.
Once the Jaguars turn the ball over, they don't win, and that was not the case today. All right, so Breech, what happens over the final 45 minutes once they get up? Why are they not able to maintain the lead?
Because Jacksonville's defense stepped up their game. The Raiders' offense stepped down their game. And you know what? I think the bigger surprise, though, was how well Jacksonville's offense played. Travis Etienne, as weird as it sounds, might be their best first-round pick from the 2021 draft.
Stop.
Yeah, he has a fumbling issue, but I agree. He's been balling out. And Trevor Lawrence, to his credit, played better this week. He no turnovers, at least no interceptions. I don't think he had any fumbles. Yeah, he did lose a fumble. My bad. Of course he did.
It's
but
like 5 straight games where he's gone over 100 total yards, and it opens up it makes Trevor Lawrence's life much easier.
And Trevor Lawrence did some big plays in the second half, some big throws, and that's important. So that's progress on both fronts.
Who has the most games with 80+% completion percentage in the NFL this season?
Who?
Trevor
Lawrence. Trace
yeah.
Thomas.
They
Jacoby Brissett 2, Geno Smith 2. What a simulation we live in.
Right, exactly. So here's the thing: the Jaguars were a 2-win team coming into this game, and so were the Raiders. No one anywhere in the galaxy was worried about Doug Peterson's job stability. No. Everyone in the galaxy is worried about Josh McDaniels.
I mean, I do like I see. I think it's POS Moon there is like pointing out, and I agree with him. Like the structure of the Cardinals and the Raiders makes it such that they really just can't. You made your bed. You have to lie in it. I'm pretty sure you cannot fire your head coach.
I don't know if this is Josh McDaniels' fault. I'm not saying he should be fired.
last week, Mark Davis came out and said that Josh McDaniels was going to be with the Raiders for years to come.
Why does he keep meeting with him after every game then?
I do think there's like you can push it back a lot on Gruden and like these draft picks and Mayock and all of that.
Just to be clear, I don't know if he should be fired. I don't know if this is his fault, but it's troubling nonetheless.
I think they can't fire him after 1 year.
No, Posmu knows that he had to pay Josh $50 million or something.
But
which
I mean, you have to if you fire Josh McDaniels like after 1 year, you have to pay out his entire contract
on top of paying Gruden.
Well, they settled with Gruden, so that's done. But yes,
but like McDaniels had on paper the easiest route of all these first-year coaches. I'm taking over a playoff team. All I have to do is get them back to the playoffs. Where you had Brian Daboll take over a horrible Giants team. He has them at 6-2. You had Kevin O'Connell take over a middling Vikings team, and now they're 7-1. And McDaniels is the one who's floundering. So it just looks even worse.
It's funny that you say that, Breech. So let me ask you this: what is this team better or worse if they just kept Rich Bisaccia instead of firing him?
They would be undefeated. They would be undefeated, but I think they would be better.
Right. I think.
The Raiders didn't. Derek Carr went 1 of 8 in the second half.
I love that Mark Davis refuses to learn his lesson. Like he made Jack Del Rio announce that he's got to fire himself for.
No, that was targeting Devontae Adams. That that graphic. He went 1 of 8.
No, that's just
Devontae.
sorry. That's just sorry. But I mean, that's pretty bad too. Yeah.
So the Raiders have we can move on after this. The Raiders have the number 3 overall pick as we sit here. Are you taking a quarterback?
Probably. And cutting, you saved $26 million with cutting Derek Carr.
I don't know how much longer Derek Carr has, but if you could trade him, I would trade him and then draft a quarterback.
His guaranteed money is like the dead cap space is a joke. It's like $5 million.
Well, just trade him. Don't cut him. Trade him. Right?
Sure. Fine. Yeah.
Breach,
or you draft the quarterback and be like, hey, look, Derek, like, you're older. We want to
keep you around.
Well, you keep it around for a year. See how.
Oh, you Jimmy G him.
Yeah, you Jimmy G him exactly.
All right,
let's move on to the Seahawks and Cardinals. Who won today, Wilson? Who won?
Eugene Cyril Smith the third.
Tyron Mathieu.
There it is. Love it. That's pre-Billy. That drop.
I know. I was just trying to see what else I had on here. I need some new drops.
Oh my God. I cannot tell you how much I love Geno Smith.
I love the Seahawks. The Seahawks are my favorite team in football right now. I want them to win the Super Bowl. I want
bandwagon jumper.
Ken Walker is a stud.
My number 1 running back, even though Breece Hall almost beat me up on set.
I mean, he is a monster. 26 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eugene Cyril Smith the third, 26 of 34, 275, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf both caught touchdown passes, but Noah Fant was the leading receiver. Rondale Moore got involved for the Cardinals. I mean, Kenneth Walker is a monster. Like this,
Ken.
The Seahawks, they're 6-3, and the rookie draft class is crushing it. It is reminiscent of the Saints 2017 draft class, except it's happening with a team that no one expected to have any chance of being good because they were starting Geno Smith. I think this is the most important story in the NFL in 2022.
I don't know if it's the most important, but it is certainly the most fun. So here's the thing. You talk about that draft class, and that's a great starting point. So Russ Wilson obviously went from Seattle to Denver. In return, the Seahawks got Shelby Harris, who is really, really good, it turns out. Had a good game today. Yep. Noah Fant, as you mentioned, absolutely balled up today, leading receiver. And with the picks they got, Charles Cross and Boye Mafe, starting left tackle and starting edge rusher. They also get the Denver 2023 first and second round picks. And also another draft pick, they got the rookie who played opposite Sauce Gardner in Cincinnati. Kobe Bryant has had 4 forced fumbles coming into this game. He almost had a 5th that was overturned because of review. That leads the NFL. So John Snyder, Pete Carroll crushed it. Turns out Russ Wilson was the problem. And, shame on us for blaming everyone but Russ Wilson for that. And Geno is the most fantastic and fun story of the season, Breach.
And the second most fantastic and fun story is how they've completely turned around this defense in 3 weeks. That is the first 4 weeks of the season, they were battling it out with the Lions to see who had the most god-awful defense in the
90
NFL.
points against the Lions. Like the 2 teams scored 90 points combined or something.
Yeah, 48-45 in that game. And you look at the first 5 weeks of the season for Seattle. They were 2-3. They were giving up 30.8 points per game. More than 30 points, that's ugly. Then you have this 3-game winning streak or 4-game winning streak now where that number is basically just above 15 points per game. So the defense is just completely whatever Pete Carroll's doing, whether they're gelling at the right time. I mean, they had Kyler Murray on the run all day. He got sacked 5 times. And I think you guys hit the nail on the head. This team is probably one of the most fun teams to watch in the NFL right now.
So, Brinson, what do you say to people in the comments who are complaining that we're overselling the Seahawks?
I'm not saying that when I say the most important story, what I mean is that like Pete Carroll made the decision, Pete Carroll and John Snyder, and you think about it, like they definitely sat down in the office and they're like, okay, we can either try and retool around Russ, who doesn't want to be here, or we can trade him and just see if we can make this work with what we're getting back and all those assets. And you can say the Seahawks haven't beaten anybody. That's fine. You
can't even say that because we talked about the Vikings who haven't, but the Seahawks beat the Giants, a 6-2 team.
They beat Denver in week 1.
They beat the Chargers, a 5-3 team. So they've got.
Well, maybe more importantly, have you looked at the rest of their schedule? Because they have the Bucs in Germany, and then they're taking their bye. They got the Raiders at home, at Rams, Panthers at home, 49ers at home, tough game, at Chiefs, Jets at home, Rams at home. There's like 4 more wins on there. This is a team that's going to the playoffs.
They're winning the division.
I think so too.
Put that money down right now.
And then they're going to beat the Vikings 87-0 in the playoffs.
Oh boy.
That's
I
just a
can see that
shot
happening.
at
That's
Brian
sad.
J in the comments because we didn't give enough love to the Vikings. Seahawks are a fun story. I think that's indisputable, right?
The Seahawks are a fun story. Vikings are a great story too.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, but like the Vikings are doing it. We knew what the Vikings were. Kevin O'Connell's coming in. We knew they had just.
There was an
Vikings
expectation that the Vikings would be good this season. No one thought they would be this good, but
I thought the Seahawks were going to be the worst team in the NFL.
Correct. People were putting the Seahawks and the Bears and the Falcons.
Yes.
And killing them.
And the Steelers should have been. But yes.
Is Geno Smith a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
only if he gets in before Stafford.
For real though, Geno Smith is in the MVP conversation. Do you disagree with that?
No.
Okay. Also funny.
What?
Shut up, Billy. I will say this. Budda Baker tweeted after the game. I think it was one of the late touchdowns, maybe the last one. Tyler Lockett clearly pushed off on Budda Baker in the end zone, and Budda Baker tweeted out, "You pushed off," and Tyler said, "Yes, I did. I got away with one."
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. It was sort of weird that it wasn't called, but again, there are situations where officials miss calls, and that just happened to be one of them.
Okay, I feel like we have this conversation every week, so we'll keep it to a short minimum. But how soon until Cliff Kingsbury gets fired?
Oh God, he's
You
so.
can't fire him. They gave him and Kyler and Steve Keim extensions.
I always agree with you on that.
I don't.
Brinson.
I've never agreed with that.
How much can you take?
Right, exactly. That's like it's sort of like saying I married this woman because her parents are loaded, and I got to stick it out for 3 more years. But it is so unbearable. You're like, you know what? I'm walking away broke. I will just take the L and move on with my life.
I think
So-
you just get. I think no. It's like you're the guy who's like getting told to leave because they're like, we can't handle you anymore.
Yes, that way
Like,
too.
here's a payout. Get lost. Like, but I think like Cliff.
The honeymoon period's over.
It's been over, hasn't it?
I just don't know. I don't know what you.
This team underachieves to new levels each and every week. They look disorganized.
Oh,
they
it's
don't want
just
to
since
be-
Call of Duty came out. I mean, it's just a change. Like there's,
Kyler is not the problem.
I mean, he's not the problem.
he's 0-2. There's like, and the guys at Part of My Take, like PFT and Big Cat do a good job of this, but like they did like they broke down the stats. It was like Kyler, when Call of Duty comes out, like goes off a cliff statistically. A KLIFF.
Well, they always stink late in the season. So, I mean, make of that what you will. All right. What's next? Great win by the Seahawks. The Cardinals are Cardinal scene.
Yep, they sure are. All right, moving along. Bucs 16, Rams 13.
Oh, my God. This game was brutal.
Latest start time in regulation for a game-winning drive in Tom Brady's entire career. 44 seconds remaining on the clock.
That's true.
That feels like it's got to be regulation. I feel like he got the ball. That doesn't feel right, but sure.
All right. I have
Second latest game-winning pass touchdown in his career. 9 seconds left on the clock behind 2013 versus Saints. I think this has to be regular season. I want to say they got the ball. Maybe I'm wrong. And he also passed Peyton Manning for most career game-winning drives all time in the regular season. 55. Tom Brady was fired up after the game, dropped an F-bomb. So that was awesome. That was effing awesome. And the Bucs, unlike the Packers, probably flipped their season around. They're now tied for first. I think they're actually technically in first in the NFC South. 2-1 in the division, 4-5 overall. Not a great start to the season, but we talked about this last week. Like with the Packers, you feel like, and the Rams are now in deep doo-doo. They're 3-5, well behind Seattle.
let me throw this out to you guys and tell me what you think about this. So clearly the offensive line on both teams stink, and that probably had a lot to do with how they called this game. I get that. So the next to last drive for the Bucs, they go for it, and on fourth down, don't get it. The Rams have the ball, and the Rams run the ball on first and second down, and it's 3rd and 5 on their own 12-yard line with 1:39 to go. And I'm thinking, if you get 5 yards, this game is over. Tampa Bay doesn't have any more timeouts. So I would call my best play, pass play, presumably including Cooper Kupp, to get 5 yards. Sean McVay is incredibly smart. You can call a 5-yard play. The game is over. Instead, they run the ball to run out the clock to go from 1:39 to 54 seconds. And I'm thinking like those 30 seconds don't matter when you punt the ball to the plus 40-yard line, because it doesn't matter whether it's 50 seconds, 130, or 25 seconds. That's more than enough time for Tom Brady. And as it played out, that was more than enough time for Tom Brady. Would you have passed on 3rd and 5, knowing that the offensive line sucks, but you have Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford? Or do you agree with the idea to run the ball there to take off the extra 30 seconds in the hopes that Tom Brady runs out of time?
I would have gone for the first down. I would have gone for the jugular. I want to win the game. I understand Sean McVay's thought process was the Buccaneers haven't really moved the ball all day. They've got 3 field goals in this game. They can't do anything. There's no reason to think they're going to be able to drive 60 yards in 44 seconds. They barely drive 60 yards in 59 minutes. So he felt obviously comfortable sending his defense out there. But yeah, if you can go for the win, and like you said, Ryan, this is what we talked about with the spike. Like, why not just run a play instead of wasting those precious seconds? With this, just go for the win, because if you get the 5 yards, the game
seconds
is
don't
over.
matter. Like between 140 and 50 seconds, it's the same thing when you're going 60 yards. Okay, good talk.
Great talk.
Didn't
Look, I mean, look. What are the Bucs to win the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah. While you look that up, do you feel
plus
any
a
better?
million, they're not winning it.
Yeah. Do you feel any better about the Bucs?
20-1. Yeah. No thanks.
Do you feel any better about the Bucs after the way they won that game than you did on Saturday? They're still a bad football team.
Yeah, but like again, versus the Packers, it's like they have Brady and they have those receivers and they have these players on defense where you feel like they could.
Wait, did they play the Packers next? Is that what you're saying?
No, they play Seahawks in Germany. I'm saying with the Packers, you're like, I don't see a path where the Packers turn this around.
I don't see it. Why do you see a path with the Bucs?
Well, they're first in the division.
Yeah, but I'm saying
if Mike Evans stops dropping passes, they would have won this game by 4 touchdowns.
To win the Super Bowl. I'm not talking about to get to the playoffs.
You put Tom Brady in a good defense and several good receivers in the playoffs. I mean, weirder Super Bowl champions have happened.
Vita Vea has played his brains out.
He is awesome. We killed that. We didn't like that pick. Most people didn't like that pick. He is a fantastic pick. I don't know that I would definitely take him over Derwin James, but I might. Like I probably would. I wouldn't, but I'm saying like
I feel like he was more impactful today.
He's been healthier.
I think what Brinson's saying is if you put the Buccaneers in the playoffs and you have Tom Brady, you at least have a chance.
Like Vegas is making they're still minus 210 to win the division, 9-1 to win the conference, and 20-1 to win the Super Bowl, even though they're 4-5.
Yeah, I don't feel as good as you do if you guys do about them, but I will say they are clearly better than the Rams, even though they should have lost to the Rams.
I mean, the Seahawks are 40-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Seahawks and Bucs on a neutral field. Who are you taking?
Well, you're in luck because they're playing this next week on a neutral field in Germany.
I'm taking the Seahawks.
Hold on. Breech, don't say anything. Brinson, are you at all concerned about the fact that the Seahawks have to travel the length of the continental U.S. and then get to Germany? Is that an unfair advantage?
Well, Ryan, if you would tune in to our early odds show, you
brought it up to him, Breech? Dang it.
By virtue of the fact that it's only 200 miles longer.
I know.
Thanks to the Earth not being flat, as any idiot would know.
Wait, it's not. No, Breech actually did a YouTube Shorts on that too. I didn't know that you were paying attention.
Well,
fair enough.
Pull up your pants, take off the bra, and be a man.
All right,
that's on me.
Two quick hitters.
Good. What do we got?
Bengals 42, Panthers 21. Look,
I got one question for Breech.
I have one thing I would say to 2 people, actually 3 people. Nick Costas, Lockie Lockerson, and Ben Solak, all of whom thought I was insane when I told them they're like, the Panthers are much better than they were earlier in the season. I was like, no, they're not. They're terrible. I went on a rant on You Better You Bet earlier this week. It's like, why are you telling me to? They're like, what do you know of the Panthers? They're not. They're much better. PJ Walker's a huge upgrade. PJ Walker benched at halftime. Please don't bet on the Panthers. Stop betting on the Panthers. They stink.
Do you know how much they stink, Brinson? I will tell you how much. Do you want to ask the question?
They stink?
How much they stink? The Bengals had more points at halftime than the Panthers had offensive yards, 35-32. Joe Mixon had more touchdowns at halftime than PJ Walker had completions. That was 4-3.
Joe Mixon was responsible for more points before the halftime than the Panthers scored in the game. But Breech, on a serious note, Evan McPherson was trending on Twitter. Are you concerned about Evan McPherson, who has suddenly not been great?
I am not concerned about Evan McPherson. His misses were close. You're not, if he was shanking them all over the place, I would be a little concerned, but no, I am not concerned.
All right. We'll see.
He'll be fine. But I will say, look, when they got their butts kicked in on Monday night, you guys maybe come on that Halloween podcast and wear that stupid Frankenstein mask so that I couldn't show my face. The one point I made the entire time was that as long as they came out and showed that they could still play offense against the Panthers, that I would just look at the Browns game as a one-off where you lost Jamar Chase. You had 4 days to come up with a game plan, and no one should be worried. And that's exactly what happened here. They came out on fire. This is it is like Zach Taylor. I even tweeted this out. Was like somebody's like, "Hey Zach, you know those tweets after the Browns game that said, hey, maybe run the ball with Joe Mixon because Joe Mixon's good, and you need to have some sort of run game to take some pressure off of Joe Burrow, especially when he doesn't have Jamar Chase out there to throw the ball to." And Mixon tore it up. I mean, over 200 total yards, 5 touchdowns, everything.
What was the Thursday night game that we talked about? I don't remember who played last Thursday night, Breech.
It's been
like this
Eagles and Texans.
Yeah, so the Eagles-Texans game where I talked about the Football Outsider study, stomps and guts, and I made fun of in a way of the Bengals for not being able to win the game against the Browns. This was a stomp. This was the Bengals coming out and stomping the brains out of a terrible Panthers team, which is what good football teams do. So credit to them for that.
Let's move on. This I mean, like I know it's the Bengals. I know that's our team, but they're terrible. Finally, Patriots 26, Colts Trace.
So I just have one thing to say about the Colts, and Zach Kiefer, I think, wrote this for The Athletic, and here's what he wrote, and this is all you need to say, and then we can move on. Imagine benching your quarterback, firing your offensive coordinator, trading your second best running back, trying 6 offensive line combinations in 9 weeks, shifting from run heavy to pass heavy, back to run heavy, and still having the worst offense in football. Imagine defending your offensive line coach. A lot of confidence in Strauss. Head coach Frank Reich said of Chris Strausser just 4 days ago, after watching his unit struggle all season, then watching that group allow 9 sacks in a single game, the most the Colts have yielded in 5 years. And finally, I'll ask you guys, what do you think the Colts did on third down against a punchless Patriots offense?
Oh, they probably gave up. Like Gus Bradley's defense, probably 75%.
They did nothing, right? The Colts didn't convert any, did they?
Colts on third down. They had 14.
The Colts on third down or the Patriots on third down?
Yeah, I sort of tried to marry the two. So the Colts on third down had 14 opportunities. How many did they convert?
Zero?
0.
Yes.
The Patriots went 35% on third down. And
6 of 17 versus 0 of 14.
I mean, this is a quintessential Belichick. Just
all right. We'll ask the Cliff Kingsbury question. Should we be worried about Frank Reich's job?
Oh, the Colts coaches and front office are definitely in danger of being fired.
This is
exactly what happened in 2011. You don't have your veteran quarterback playing.
Who did Chuck Pagano replace?
Tony
Dungy? No,
because Jim Caldwell was there in 2009.
There you go.
Was he there in 2011?
Was he?
I don't know.
He got him in the Super Bowl in 2009.
Anyway,
and then Pagano, I think, replaced him.
Yeah, it was Caldwell.
Sam Ehlinger might not be the answer. I think is what we've learned. Nick Foles.
Actually, you know who was on the 2011 Colts?
You crawl back, Matt Ryan.
No,
you know who was on the 2011 Colts coaching staff?
Who?
Frank Reich.
What?
Well,
he's an offensive assistant.
So he's gonna understand the situation. Deja vu.
That the Colts might be one of the worst teams in the league. That was a terrible.
The worst team in the league.
That was not.
So Wright came back and was an intern with the Colts from 06 to 07, offensive assistant until 11 when he was fired. Joined up with Arians in Arizona and then San Diego, then Philly before he got the head coaching job.
All right. Well, the Colts will be drafting a quarterback, so there's that.
I mean, this is like they tanked, went for the first overall pick, fired everybody, took Andrew Luck, brought in Gregson and Pagano. So we'll see. All right. Somebody wants winners and losers?
Who?
I don't know. Do we do winners? I breach these winners and losers, 2 each.
Breach, I'm going to go Justin Fields as a winner, even though he lost because he played so well.
Got to go Justin Fields.
I will go. was going to go Tua, but you just did that game. So I will instead go Tom Brady. Winner. Oh, by the way, Tom Brady, 100,000 passing yards.
Who got the final reception to get over the 100,000 mark?
Was it Scotty Miller?
Nope. Playoff
tight end?
Lenny.
Playoff
Lenny,
Lenny.
of course.
My loser Breach.
Well, my winner is Zach Wilson.
Okay, that's a good one. My loser, the Colts.
The whole team, the whole
The
franchise.
whole entire franchise,
Everyone.
except for Jim Irsay, who was very angry.
I would take Aaron Rodgers as a loser.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good loser. My loser is should it be the Panthers? No, it is Cliff and Kyler.
Oh, good
that's-
one. All right.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Breach, for Wilson, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.